Today we are talking to Sally Baker, and she is a social worker specializing in the perinatal phase. Good morning, Sally.
Good morning, Tina.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. Could you explain to the viewer what the perinatal phase is and what that means?
That's the term we use for everything from wanting to fall pregnant, being pregnant, birthing the baby, and then the first sort of year or two afterwards. It's that whole phase of becoming a parent.
The crazy phase, right?
Oh yeah, the survive phase. It does get better.
Completely. And I think that's the truth, that anyone who is pregnant, first-time moms, I think anyone will tell you how overwhelming and difficult it really can be, and rewarding. We're not taking away from that, but I think to focus on how difficult it can be, and I can't even imagine at the moment, being in lockdown, going through a global pandemic, what pregnant moms and new moms and moms must be feeling. And I think that's what we really wanted to touch on today.
Yes, and dads and families.
Completely.
The whole system is affected. Grannies can't be there. It's a challenge for everybody. It is normally a
No. I feel like, as you were saying that, it feels like the village is gone. Your village of help.
Yeah. And it's the time when we most want the support and need the support of the people we trust and love, and who trust and love and know us. And some people have organized themselves to be with their parents, or their parents have come to them, but not everybody can do that. So some people are finding themselves on their own. And it has a few nice things, like you have some visitors you don't need to deal with, because that you wouldn't have wanted to deal with anyway.
Completely.
But it is a hard thing. It's mothering and learning to breastfeed, and all of these things, we learn them by watching them, by seeing other people do them. The mammal part of us that does that. And that's kind of absent. It's not the same watching it on a screen as it is having it in person. So there's a lot that I think the parents that are pregnant now and birthing now are having to grieve and acknowledge how different this is. There already isn't a great map for how to do this in the first place. And now there really is no map, and parents have to be super creative and find other ways of getting support, other ways of working out how to do this, being really creative, really gentle and kind with themselves. Lower those expectations as much as you can. These are normal things, but they have to be, I think, magnified now even more. You even more have to be creative and find solutions that work for you guys.
Completely. And everything's kind of affected. So even we're talking about, what the mom must be feeling, but, her partner is going through a lot, him or herself. The whole family dynamic has changed, and we're putting people really in an abnormal and extraordinary, should we say, situation. And moms, I think in general, and I won't speak for other moms, I speak for myself, that expectation that you put on yourself, and the guilt that you have, and questioning yourself. Am I doing this right? Am I being a good mom? What does everyone else think? Now in these conditions must most certainly be magnified, and it must be really hard. You mentioned grieving, and I know when we had our catch up yesterday, one of the things that you mentioned to me is moms not being able to prepare like they necessarily would have for a baby that's coming. So the nappy party or the stalk party or whatever it is, not having that, where there's kind of that sense of your friends coming together and supporting you, and perhaps getting you some of the essentials that you would need, or you don't even know you need if you're a first-time mom. So you're kind of relying on, on them to give you what you need. And that's now
And
also
lots of stuff you don't need.
and so much stuff you don't need that sits in the cupboard. But they've lost that now. You know, they don't have those people around them to maybe give them the unsolicited advice at points, but the advice nonetheless. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Pregnancy and birth and becoming a mother is a rite of passage. It's a transformation, sort of from maiden to mother. You can't be a mother till you're a mother, and it is a whole journey and a whole process that we go through in order to become this mother and have this baby. And the dads are also going through a rite of passage, the parenting rite of passage. And so we have lots of things built up in our society to support that rite of passage. Things like the stalk party, like going to preggy yoga, like maybe going to the chiropractor or going to these baby expo shows. I mean, they're very noisy and they sell you way too much stuff you don't need, telling you that's how to be a good parent, is to have the right pram. But anyway, another topic for another day. But people are missing out on these things. Preggy shoots, they're preggy photo shoots. So there really are lots of things that people are missing out on. And we live in a culture that tends to kind of look for the silver lining and I don't know, what we call toxic positivity. And that can be it's toxic, it's unhelpful, it's isolating, it's often really invalidating of your feelings and your grief and your losses and your disappointments. So to answer your question, what we actually need to do, part of the grieving, is to acknowledge that, to acknowledge how disappointed we are, how sad we are, how shitty this situation is, how unprecedented, how we didn't want it, to really validate, to feel those feelings, to acknowledge our disappointments. And then we carry on. Yeah. And then we get on with it. And we do what we have to do. And we do the best. And we learn to be gentle and kind with ourselves. But first, you have to acknowledge that this is not what you wanted, not what you planned, how you feel. I think that's really important.
Most definitely. And it's so funny, coming back to that toxic positivity, I think it's something that's always been, and this is not just a lockdown crisis thing to talk about, because for moms that are having hard pregnancies, for moms that haven't enjoyed pregnancy, I mean, I'll only speak for myself. Pregnancy and I are just not good friends. And seeing these moms glowing in their pregnancy shoots and smiling, obviously it's just a moment that's captured, but the pressure that kind of puts on other moms to be like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I enjoy this? Why aren't I beaming and glowing and feeling great about myself? And now being in lockdown, I'm sure those moms are feeling even worse about themselves because our routine has changed and everything has been thrown on its head, and now you're dealing with all those issues inside yourself again that are just being worsened. And like you said, I think just being gentle on ourselves and acknowledging that is so important.
And it is something we need to learn, to be gentle with ourselves, to give ourselves a break, to talk nicely to ourselves, to care more about what we think and we're saying to ourselves than the other people out there. And let me tell you, there's a lot of lying that goes on and illusion around pregnancy and birth.
100%.
It's so, I always tell my moms, be really careful who you listen to and how what you're listening to and coming in at you makes you feel. Because inside if this resonates or not. If it makes you feel bad or makes you feel shameful or makes you doubt yourself, don't have it in your space. Cut it out. Don't look at it. And now it is, don't look at it on social media. Just cut it out. Be really selective what you expose yourself to. And the normal anxieties, normal worries, our normal mental health, as fragile as that is in this crazy world we live in, will be even more tested now and magnified. So anxiety before, maybe even more now. Plus there's extra challenges. I mean, a lot of people are dealing with financial changes and financial instability. To be pregnant and have a new baby and find yourself, maybe one of you without a job, or reduction in salary, that is incredibly stressful. And I think the fathers feel that a lot, I've noticed in my practice, because the dads, the partners tend to be the ones who are the providers that kind of step into that role. And that is so challenged now. And the moms have to just give it over. You can't be a breadwinner and a mommy of a brand new baby at the same time. It is a massive, massive, real challenge that people have to find solutions to.
And now,
that's what.
sorry to interrupt, like even just thinking about it, just the process of going for your checkups, you know, normally that's kind of like an exciting time. You get to see the baby and you get to see the baby's heartbeat, and kind of settles all your worries of, you know, is everything still okay, which you have. And now going to a doctor or going to a clinic or going to a hospital, something that doesn't have that positive spin on it, you're probably not looking forward to. And I'm sure a lot of moms are also anxious about that, going for their checkups and are they going to be okay, you know, in a hospital, in a waiting room with other moms, just extra worries.
Yes, extra worries. I don't find the moms are that worried about getting it. They're sort of more worried about what's going to happen. So if they need to go and see somebody, can they? Who is going to be at their birth? Will their care providers be there? Will the father and the partner be allowed to be there? If something happens to the baby and the baby needs extra care and has to go into the neonatal ICU, will they be allowed to go with? And the hospitals keep changing the rules, so it's not really clear. So it's really, really hard to plan that. So it's a real task for parents to have to convert this. Yes, I want to go see my baby's heartbeat and see that my baby's doing well. So how do we convert that into still keeping that exciting, despite all the uncertainty and the scary parts and the changes? I mean, people's visits are being changed. The routine is not the same as it was.
Challenging times. And then when you get home with the baby, those first few weeks, you know, it's not as easy. Okay, I'm going to pop to the shops, or, you know, my partner's going to pop to the shops and get, I don't know, the nappies aren't fitting, or baby's got a bit of a rash and so-and-so told me to use this bum cream and now I know that, or my milk supply has stopped and I need formula. Now it's not as easy as just, you know, getting in the car and going to the shops to get those supplies. And finances have been affected. So those families that, you know, your baby may need something and you then aren't actually able to financially get what you need. And that's also frightening for moms.
It's very, very frightening. And it makes worse what's already there, where we live in a culture that we often find it quite difficult to ask for help, to acknowledge that we're struggling, that this is hard, this is not as natural as they sold you. So again, that's kind of magnified, and it's too easy for people to feel it's me. I did something wrong. I'm not good enough. I should have planned this better. And they kind of take on an unreasonable blaming of themselves that's totally not valid. And they really need to learn. We all as humans need to learn, but mommies especially, they are vulnerable. They're a soft breed. They're growing a human that they're going to birth. There's a whole other person that they're going to care for and look after. It sounds all romantic, but it is. It is incredible.
Yeah.
So these women and their partners, they need support. They need help and protection. And the parents, need to allow people to help them.
Yeah.
You need to be vulnerable to say, I'm not coping. Please go get me some toilet paper. You know, who are your toilet paper people? You need toilet paper people. And getting your baby's formula or getting toilet paper or that bum cream, those are essentials. It is okay to go out and get those. And you just do it really, really savvy. Do the washing hands, do the mask, be really, really quick in, out, conscious about it. And it's okay. You've got to do what you got to do to survive.
And to be considerate of moms, and to check in. And I think it's only after you've gone through that yourself that you realize how important you can be to someone else's support as part of their village, be it dropping off a meal, be it checking in on them, and talking about how you're really feeling. You know, there's always just been this stigma around postnatal depression or baby blues, and not talking about it. And you know, I just thrill when people say, oh, she's so emotional or hormonal. Like, it drives me berserk, because, you know, these are real feelings, and going through postnatal depression or baby blues or any emotion after having, it's so real, and it needs to be considered, and these moms and their feelings need to be validated.
Absolutely. Yes. Our mental health, I think, should be primary consideration, because our mental health affects how our brains work. They affect how our nervous system works, how our body works, how our self-regulation system works. The more we are healthy in that department and supported and able to be gentle with ourselves, the better we are available to be in a relationship, to create a family, to care for a baby. These are not extras. These are essential. I mean, even in a normal situation, never mind a pandemic. So when we dismiss how you're feeling, you're actually dismissing like that person's entire soul. It's like, no, we really need to change this. And not everybody can hold difficult feelings. So not everybody can phone you and say, how are you really feeling? What's going on for you at 2 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the morning? How are you feeling that breastfeeding is not working the way you had hoped? How are you feeling that the birth didn't go the way you planned, that you're really disappointed that your mom's not there to drop off your favorite casserole or whatever it is? So not everybody is able to hold the answer to that. So you also need to be careful who it is that you allow to ask you that question. But if it's somebody like you who's been there, done that, you can hold the answer to that. When you say to a mommy, how are you really doing? She knows she can actually tell you the truth. She can be vulnerable with you. She can be honest. So everybody needs to find those people. And you're not alone. The biggest message we give moms who are adjusting and having postnatal anxiety or distress or depression is you are not alone. It is not your fault. And you can get help. And yes, now we have to do telehealth, Zoom support is not quite the same, but it's better than nothing. So
Completely. And we just find ways to adapt. We find ways, like you say, Zoom calls, telephonic calls, reaching out on messages, whatever it may be. There are support structures available. And what's your advice to a mom who's maybe watching this, who is feeling, and again, all the issues of self-doubt, like, no, I'm having a bad day, it's not postnatal depression or whatever it is. What is your message to her in terms of reaching out for that help in the right places?
So if you're really feeling not yourself, then there's something wrong. And it's not your fault that you're not feeling like you. It is essential to get help. If you had a broken wrist, you would go to the doctor, you would have it checked out, and you would get a splint for it. And not for 1 second would you feel ashamed about that. Not for 1 second. You wouldn't blame yourself. Even if you tripped and fell, you wouldn't blame yourself. And it's the same with your mental health and our feelings and our emotions. Becoming a parent is a massive transformation. And there is so much going on. There's so many stresses that people don't even realize. If you have trouble in the pregnancy, if you've just gotten married, started a new relationship, moved into a new home, maybe changed jobs, if there's been fertility treatment, if you've had previous miscarriages, I mean, this is life, but these are all massive stresses, positive and negative. They're all stressful. Getting married, as good as that is still a stress.
Mm.
So we walk into this already stressful, already stressed, already anxious, and at our ends tether. And anxiety is there partly because these mummies just want to do their best and want to be really, really good mummies, and they want to protect these babies, and those instincts are kind of on overdrive. So we just need to hone them down a little bit so that we can get them manageable. It's a really, really good intention of your body, your brain, and your being. So you're already walking in stress. If there's challenge with a baby, a baby goes to ICU, those are all things that add up and make it incredibly stressful. Please don't feel like you need to do this alone. That is an unreasonable expectation. Or that you need to know how to do this, or that you should enjoy doing this. No, there will be moments. I mean, that baby smiles like just in time. They're around 5-6 weeks.
Completely. To bring you back from the level of insanity where you think that's it, I'm going to lose it, and then there's that smile.
Oh, and it gets better. And it is not all wonderful all the time. Can be incredibly boring, actually, to go from an interesting job where you're interacting with people and adults and doing stuff, and then you're changing nappies and learning how to breastfeed, and it's just not that interesting. But we're not talking about this in our society. We think it is that blissful picture of the preggy shoot with the glowy mom. No, it's not. It's about vomit and tiredness and dirty tops and leaking boobs and tears and
Lots of tears.
lots of tears.
Lots.
And that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. This
Mm.
is big. This is big, becoming a parent, being responsible for somebody else. And at the same time, learning to take care of yourself, which maybe is something you've never really done before.
No.
If you're corporate and you're pushing, you've never really needed to take care of you, to take care of your own inner needs so that you can take care of your baby. So you're suddenly having to look after two people, your own inner child and your baby. Whew, that's a lot going on.
That is a lot going on. And then moms that have this maybe isn't even their first baby. Now you add another dynamic with a toddler or whatever it may be, running around the house, and your time is divided and you're feeling guilty. Are you giving each of them enough attention, and your partner needs to take on more responsibility, or you may be a single mom? There's so many dynamics, and in that, it's not just new moms. Like you say, any mom in this situation, I'm sure lockdown also brings up all of these issues all over again that maybe you had forgotten that you had been through, and the trauma you've been through because you've just been on a go, and now you are in your house and you're stuck in one place, and all of these things are starting to affect you again.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is happening for everybody. Relationships are challenged. You're suddenly finding yourselves in, and you discover maybe we don't have the communication skills we need. Before you can ask for help, you've got to know what it is that you need. And then how do we ask in a way to our partner that is helpful, that they can hear us? Can we hear our partners? Because it's stressful for the partners too. So this is normally a challenge. So this is magnified now. You can't just go out for a shopping spree or go for a walk in the park or send the kid off to granny, send the toddler to granny for the day so that you can have a break and some time with the baby. These old coping ones are removed for a while. So it does make it really challenging, but it will change. It's not going to be like this forever. We need to ride the storm. It's this balance between validating how really difficult and challenging this is, but remember it will pass. Because if you don't remember it's going to pass, you get totally stuck and then you want to throw in the towel. Because if the rest of my life looks like this, I ain't doing it. Mm-mm. But it's not going to look like this. I promise. It's not going to look like this. It will get better. You will do these things again, and you'll find ways to grieve, to come to terms, to accept that you had a baby in a very special time. Quite an interesting group of babies we're having, huh? Born in this time, under these circumstances. Very, very special.
Very, very special. And Sally, thank you so much. I mean, there's so many things that, we could continue to talk about, but I think for this one, we really wanted to focus on moms in pregnancy, new moms, what moms are experiencing. And I really hope that there are moms watching this that have just said, sure, I'm not alone. And this is normal, and it's actually okay to not be okay, and it's okay to say we're not okay. We're not weak for that.
That's right.
Strong to be able to say that.
Yes, yes.
So thank you so much. And in terms of people reaching out, if someone is reaching out, what's your advice just where they should look to get that help? Because obviously at the moment it makes it a lot easier in terms of communication over Zoom or whatever. You can connect with someone. You know, someone might want to find someone close to them so that after this all ends, they are able to physically see someone. But, you know, Google can also be
Ooh, be careful.
A difficult one, and I'm not saying you shouldn't research about trying to find the help that you need, but what's your advice to find the correct help?
Sure, that's such a good question. I would say you speak to the care providers that you trust and you know, and ask for referrals. Or speak to parents that you know and respect, and then ask them for referrals. And that's generally how we do it. So if a new mommy speaks to you, you've kind of been there, done that. That's a good idea. So speak to a parent who's a couple of months, a couple of years ahead of you. And I always say, pick like one person and pick them if you like their children. So you like their product is a good way to choose who you look to. So use somebody that you already trust and keep it simple. We tend to way overcomplicate and overwhelm this. So just do what you need to do. Very, very gently, very kindly. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really answered your question. It's a difficult one, getting good referrals. There are free things, SADAG. There's some fantastic SADAG counselors. There are people who see people like me. And you can notice when you're with them or you're speaking to them how they make you feel. If they make you feel good and they make you feel like, yeah, this person's going to bring out the best in me and can help me cope, that's kind of somebody you want to see. If it's somebody who makes you feel less than adequate, like you failed, like you're not doing well, that's not somebody you want to see. So notice how it makes you feel when you're interacting with that person. And if they don't make you feel good, walk away. Walk away. A clinic sister that says something that makes you feel really bad, well, A, don't take it on, and B, find another one. If you have the option to do that.
Yeah, I think that's really great advice. And we'll put up on the screen and links to the SADAG website and your contact details. But important to let people know that there is help out there, and you need to reach out to get the help that you need.
You do.
Thank you so much. Oh, definitely bravery. Moms, you automatically get it, right?
You do, and hang in.
Fight fast.
Hang in.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
I'm sure we'll chat to you again soon.
Thank you, Tina.
Thanks
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Keep well. Bye.